Lieutenant Commander Allison Murray rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the vast darkness of space through the main view screen. Another quiet day on patrol aboard the Earth Federation ship Dauntless. The ship had been traveling along the border of human space for 3 weeks now, and nothing interesting had happened. Allison stretched in her captain's chair. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and eyes that had seen more battles than she cared to remember. At 35, she already had 15 years of service under her belt. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," said Ensign Ryan Phillips from his communications station. Ryan was young, barely 22, with red hair and freckles. This was his first deep space assignment. "What kind of something, Ensign?" Allison asked, straightening in her seat. "Not sure, ma'am. At first I thought it was just background radiation, but there's a pattern to it." Allison walked over to his station and looked at the readings. She wasn't an expert in communications, but she had learned to trust her crew's instincts. "Can you clean it up?" Ryan's fingers flew across his control panel. "Working on it. Whatever it is, it's using an old frequency. Really old." The bridge fell silent as everyone focused on their work. After a few minutes, Ryan looked up with wide eyes. "Commander, it's an SOS call. It's using the universal distress code from the early contact era." Allison frowned. Nobody had used that frequency in over 70 years. "Are you sure?" "Yes, Mom. The message is breaking up, but it's definitely a distress call." "Let's hear it," Allison ordered. Ryan pressed a button, and a crackling sound filled the bridge. Through the static, a strange voice spoke. The words were hard to understand, but the fear in the voice was clear. "Final survivors, please help. Voidborn attacking. Last of our kind. Anyone?" The message cut off, then started again from the beginning. "Where is it coming from?" Allison asked. Ryan checked his instruments and his face paled. "It's coming from the Xerani territory, Mom." Now everyone on the bridge looked worried. The Xerani Empire had been humanity's enemy for decades. They were a proud, aggressive species who hated humans and have fought 2 wars against Earth already. "That can't be the Xerani," said Lieutenant Ben Foster, the ship's tactical officer. "They'd never ask for help, especially not from us." "No," Allison agreed, "but someone in their space is asking." She walked back to her chair and sat down, thinking hard. Going into Xerani space could start another war. Ignoring a distress call went against everything she believed in. "Lieutenant Garcia, can we pinpoint the exact location of that signal?" she asked the navigation officer. "Already working on it, Commander," replied Maria Garcia, her dark eyes focused on her screen. "It's coming from the Kestrel sector, near the edge of Xerani space." Allison nodded. That area was less patrolled by the Xerani. Maybe they could get in and out without being noticed. "Plot a course, but keep us just outside their border for now. I need to contact headquarters." In her private quarters, Allison explained the situation to Admiral Joe Nelson over a secure channel. The Admiral's weathered face showed concern. "You're sure it's a genuine distress call?" he asked. "Yes, sir. My communications officer confirmed it." Admiral Nelson sighed. "This puts us in a difficult position, Commander. The peace with the Xerani is fragile at best." "I understand, sir, but we can't just ignore it." "No, we can't." The Admiral thought for a moment. "Very well. You have permission to investigate, but be careful. No unnecessary risks. If you encounter Xerani ships, withdraw immediately." "Yes, sir," Allison said, relieved. Back on the bridge, she gave the order. "Lieutenant Garcia, take us in. Ensign Phillips, keep monitoring that signal. Everyone else, stay alert. We're entering dangerous territory." As the Dauntless changed course and accelerated, Allison couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would change everything. Something about that desperate voice calling out into the darkness had touched her. Whatever species they were, they needed help, and humans never turned their backs on those in need. even if it meant risking war with the Xerani Empire. The ship slipped into faster-than-light travel, heading toward the source of the mysterious call for help. The Dauntless dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the edge of Xerani space. Allison Murray stood from her chair and walked closer to the main screen. "Full sensor sweep," she ordered. "I want to know what we're dealing with before we go any further." "Scanning now, Commander," said Officer Sam Wells from the science station. His eyes widened as data flooded his screen. "Ma'am, I'm detecting multiple ships ahead. They appear to be damaged." Allison frowned. "Xerani?" "No, ma'am. Unknown design. I count 17 vessels of various sizes. They're arranged in a defensive formation, but many show signs of battle damage. Life signs are present, but weak on several ships. The distress signal is coming from the largest vessel in the center," Ryan Phillips added from communications. Captain George Winters entered the bridge. He was a tall man with gray at his temples who had been resting in his quarters. As the ship's commanding officer, he needed to be present for first contact. "Report, Commander Murray," he said. Allison quickly filled him in on what they had found. Captain Winters listened carefully, then made his decision. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," he ordered. Ryan worked at his station. "Channel open." "Sir." "This is Captain George Winters of the Earth Federation vessel Dauntless. We'd received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." For a long moment, there was no response. Then the screen flickered and showed a strange sight. The alien before them had pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. It had no hair, large eyes, and slender limbs. When it spoke, patterns of light rippled across its skin. "Earth, humans." The alien's voice sounded musical but tired. "You received our call." "Yes," Captain Winters said. "We're here to help if we can." The alien's skin pulsed with light. "I am Zivix, ambassador of the Luminary people. We did not believe anyone would answer our call, especially not the Deathworlders." Allison and the others exchanged glances. They had heard this term before. Many alien species called humans Deathworlders because Earth was considered a harsh, dangerous planet compared to most habitable worlds. "We respond to all distress calls," Captain Winters said simply. "What happened to your fleet?" Zivix's lights dimmed. "We are refugees, the last of our kind. Our homeworld was destroyed by the Voidborn Collective. They hunt us for our abilities. We fled, but they followed. We have been running for months." "How many survivors?" Allison asked. 22,000, Zivix replied. "Mostly civilians, children, elders. We lost many in the attacks." Captain Winters nodded gravely. "We'll need to move quickly. This is Xerani space, and they won't welcome either of us." "The Xerani denied our request for sanctuary," Zivix said, as did the Polarian Union and the Drull Confederacy. All feared the Voidborn's retribution. Allison felt anger rising within her. To refuse help to a dying species was unthinkable to humans. "We need to see your ships, assess the damage," Captain Winters said. "With your permission, we'll send over medical and engineering teams." Zivix's skin brightened in surprise. "You would risk yourselves for us. You do not even know us." "That's what humans do," Allison said simply. Captain Winters turned to his crew. "Prepare shuttle teams, medical supplies, emergency rations, repair crews." As the bridge crew moved to carry out their orders, Lieutenant Ben Foster approached Allison. "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up energy signatures at the edge of the system. Could be Xerani patrol ships." Allison nodded. "Keep monitoring them. If they're heading this way, we need to know immediately." She watched as the screen showed the damaged Luminary fleet. The ships were beautiful in design, with flowing organic lines unlike the more angular human vessels. But many had gaping holes in their hulls, barely holding together. "Why do they call us Deathworlders?" Ryan asked quietly beside her. "Because we evolved on a planet that would kill most alien species," Allison explained. "High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators, radiation. It made us tough. And now, Ryan looked at the fragile, glowing aliens on the screen. Allison smiled slightly. Now that toughness might be exactly what they need. Science Officer Olivia Carter stepped carefully through the damaged corridors of the Luminary flagship. The walls were made of a strange, smooth material that seemed to glow faintly from within, just like the aliens themselves. She had never seen anything like it before. Beside her walked Zivix, the Luminary ambassador. His blue skin rippled with gentle patterns of light as he moved. "Our ship was once beautiful," he said sadly. "Before the attacks." Olivia nodded. She was 30 years old with curly black hair pulled back in a tight bun. As the Dauntless's lead scientist, she was eager to learn more about these new aliens. "Your technology is amazing," she said. "I've never seen materials that produce light this way." "We do not produce the light," Zivix explained. "We channel it. All Luminary can sense and manipulate energy fields." They entered a large round room. Inside, several Luminary were sitting in a circle, their hands linked. Between them, a ball of pure energy floated in the air, pulsing with colors. "This is how we power our ships," Zivix said. "We gather energy from stars and space itself." Olivia stared in wonder. Her instruments were recording everything, but they could barely understand what they were seeing. "Is this why the Voidborn attacked you?" she asked. Zivix's lights dimmed. "Yes, the Voidborn feed on energy. They drain it from stars, planets, even living beings. But they cannot manipulate it like we can. They saw us as both competition and threat. And they destroyed your homeworld because of this. They did not just destroy it. They consumed it, drained it of all energy until nothing remained but a cold, dead rock." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. She tapped her communicator. "Carter to Captain Winters. I think I've discovered why the Luminary were targeted. You need to hear this." Back on the Dauntless, Olivia showed her findings to Captain Winters, Commander Murray, and the other senior officers. She displayed images of the Luminary using their energy abilities. "They're basically living power plants," she explained. "They can harness energy directly from their surroundings. That's why most species refuse to help them," Allison Murray said. "The Voidborn sound like a nightmare. No one wanted to be their next target. Except us," Captain Winters noted. "Why did they think humans might help when others wouldn't?" Lieutenant Maria Garcia spoke up. "Maybe because we're new to the galactic community. We haven't had enough time to become afraid." Olivia shook her head. "It's more than that. Zivix told me they specifically sought out humans. They've heard stories about us." "What kind of stories?" Ben Foster asked. "They call us Deathworlders because Earth has higher gravity, more radiation, and more dangerous weather than most inhabited planets. They thought we might be strong enough to stand against the Voidborn when others couldn't." Everyone fell silent as they considered this. Humans had always seen themselves as normal, but to these aliens, they were something special, creatures from a deadly world who had somehow survived and thrived. The silence was broken by a beeping sound from the tactical station. Ben Foster checked the readings and looked up with a worried expression. "Captain, those energy signatures are definitely Xerani vessels. 3 warships heading directly toward us. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Captain Winters stood up. "We need to move the Luminary fleet immediately. They're in no condition to fight, and we can't take on 3 Xerani warships alone." "We could try to talk to them," suggested Ryan Phillips. "The Xerani don't talk," Allison said. "They shoot first and never ask questions." "Actually," Olivia interrupted, "the Luminary tried to contact the Xerani before us. They were turned away, but there was communication, and Zivix mentioned something interesting. The Xerani have also been attacked by the Voidborn." Captain Winters looked thoughtful. "Common enemies can make for strange allies." "You're not suggesting we try to work with the Xerani?" Ben asked in disbelief. "I'm suggesting we have limited options," the captain replied. We can't outrun them with the Luminary fleet in this condition, and we can't fight them. So yes, I'm suggesting we talk to them." He turned to Ryan. "Open a channel as soon as they're in range. Let's see if Serani hatred of humans is stronger than their fear of the Voidborn." As they waited for the Xerani ships to arrive, Olivia returned to her work analyzing the Luminary data. She had a feeling that understanding their energy manipulation abilities might be the key to their survival, and possibly to defeating the Voidborn who hunted them. The bridge of the Dauntless was silent as the 3 Xerani warships came into view on the main screen. They were massive vessels, dark gray with sharp, jagged edges that made them look like floating weapons. "They're hailing us," Ryan Phillips said from his communication station. Captain Winters took a deep breath. On screen, the face that appeared was not what any of them expected. The Xerani had tough, ridged skin that looked almost like stone, with deep-set eyes that glowed orange. This one had elaborate markings across its face, suggesting high rank. "Human vessel," the Xerani said in a deep, rumbling voice. "You are trespassing in Imperial space. Prepare to be destroyed." Before Captain Winters could respond, a new signal came through. Admiral Frank Donovan's face appeared on a split screen. He was on the human flagship Valiant, which had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel behind the Dauntless. "This is Admiral Donovan of the Earth Federation. I receive your distress call, Captain Winters. I see we have company." The Xerani commander looked surprised. "More human ships? You dare to bring a fleet into our territory?" Admiral Donovan was an older man with a completely bald head and sharp blue eyes. "We came in response to a distress call, as required by galactic law. We have no hostile intentions toward the Xerani Empire." "The distress call was not from us," the Xerani said with disgust. "No," Captain Winters agreed. "It was from the Luminary refugees, the same refugees you turned away when they asked for help." The Xerani's orange eyes narrowed. "Their problems are not our concern." "But they should be," said a new voice. Communications specialist Diane Lopes had stepped forward. She was in her 40s with streaks of gray in her dark hair. She specialized in alien languages and cultures. "Commander, may I?" she asked Allison. When Allison nodded, Diane addressed the Xerani directly. "Honored Fleet Commander," she said, using the proper Xerani title. "The Luminary are fleeing from the Voidborn Collective. Our intelligence suggests the Xerani Empire has also suffered attacks from this enemy." The Xerani was silent for a moment. Then he spoke more quietly. "How do you know of this?" "The Voidborn attacked 3 of your outer colonies 6 months ago," Diane said. "Your empire kept this information secret because you did not want to appear weak." Admiral Donovan looked impressed. Diane had studied Xerani culture extensively. "What we propose," Diane continued, "is not an alliance with humans, which we know would be unacceptable to you. Rather, we suggest a temporary shared purpose against an enemy that threatens us all." The Xerani commander's face remained hard, but something changed in his eyes. "You wish to move these refugees through our space?" "Yes," Captain Winters said. "To Earth Federation territory, where they will be safe from the Voidborn." "And what does the Xerani Empire gain from this arrangement?" Admiral Donovan spoke up. "Information. The Luminary understand the Voidborn better than anyone. They know their weaknesses." The bridge crew held their breath as the Xerani considered this. Finally, he spoke. "I will speak with you directly, Human Admiral. My ship will dock with yours for discussions." "Agreed," Admiral Donovan said. "I look forward to it." When the communication ended, everyone on the Dauntless Bridge let out a sigh of relief. "That was incredible, Diane," Allison said. "How did you know about those attacks?" "I didn't for certain," Diane admitted. "But I know Xerani psychology. They're proud warriors. If the Voidborn are as dangerous as the Luminary say, the Xerani would have encountered them eventually, and they would never admit to any defeats." Admiral Donovan contacted them again on a private channel. "Good work, Captain. I'm transferring coordinates for a meeting point. Bring the luminary ambassador to my ship. Let's see if we can make this work." 2 hours later, Allison found herself in a large conference room aboard the Valiant. She sat next to Zivix, whose skin pulsed with nervous light patterns. Across from them sat the Exorani commander, whose name was Krell, along with 2 of his officers. Their stone-like faces revealed nothing. Admiral Donovan began the meeting. "We are gathered here with a common purpose: survival. Let us speak plainly about what each of us needs." As the discussion began, Allison watched the 3 different species, human, luminary, and tyranny, attempting to find common ground. She wondered if they could overcome centuries of distrust and fear in time to face the greater threat that was surely coming for them all. Chief Engineer Paul Rodriguez wiped sweat from his forehead as he examined the damaged hull of the largest luminary ship. The metal-like material was unlike anything he had ever worked with before. It was lightweight yet incredibly strong, with tiny channels running through it that glowed with soft blue light. "Amazing," he muttered to himself. Paul was a stocky man in his 50s with strong hands and warm brown eyes. He had been an engineer for 30 years, but this was completely new territory. A luminary engineer named Ilara stood beside him. Her skin pulsed with light patterns as she explained their technology. "The outer hull channels energy from space to power our systems," she said, "but the void-borne weapons disrupted the flow. Now many sections are dead." Paul nodded thoughtfully. "We might be able to reinforce these sections with our alloys. They're not as efficient for energy collection, but they're tougher." "The fleet must be ready to move in 12 hours, said a harsh voice behind them. Paul turned to see a Xerani officer named Vex. Unlike the other Xerani, Vex seemed less hostile toward the humans, though he was still formal and stiff. "The Voidborn scouts have been detected at the edge of our territory," Vex continued. "If your repairs are not complete, we leave without you." Paul sighed. "We're working as fast as we can." He turned back to the damaged hull. "Let's try something. Our metals won't conduct energy like yours, but what if we combine them? We could create a hybrid hull that's both strong and functional." Ilara's skin brightened with excitement. "Yes, we could weave your metal with ours." While the engineers worked on the ships, Marine Sergeant Lisa Coleman was in a large cargo bay that had been converted into a training area. Around her stood 30 luminary volunteers, watching nervously as she demonstrated basic combat moves. "I know your people are peaceful," Lisa said. She was a tall, athletic woman with short blonde hair, "but sometimes you need to defend yourselves." One of the luminary, a young male named Ren, stepped forward. "We have never fought before. Our people used our abilities to create and heal, not to harm." Lisa nodded with understanding. "Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. I'm not asking you to kill, just to protect yourselves and your families." She showed them how to use their energy manipulation abilities defensively, creating shields, disrupting enemy targeting systems, and temporarily blinding attackers with light bursts. To her surprise, the luminary learned quickly. Though physically weaker than humans, their control over energy was impressive. By the end of the session, Ren was able to create a shield strong enough to deflect a low-power laser blast. "You're a natural," Lisa told him with a smile. Ren's skin pulsed with proud colors. "Perhaps there is a warrior spirit in us after all." On the bridge of the Valiant, Admiral Donovan studied the star charts with Captain Winters, Commander Murray, and Krell, the Xerani commander. "The safest route to Earth space is through here," Allison said, pointing to a path on the map. Krell shook his head. "Too slow. The Voidborn would overtake us." "What about the Scylla Nebula?" Captain Winters suggested. "It's a shorter path." The Xerani's orange eyes widened. "The nebula is filled with radiation and sensor-jamming gases. Navigation is nearly impossible." "Not for us," Admiral Donovan said. "Earth ships are designed to withstand harsh conditions. Our sensors can function in the nebula, and our hulls can handle the radiation. The luminary ships cannot," Krall argued. They would be destroyed. Not if we modify them, Allison said. Our engineers are already reinforcing their hulls. Krull seemed skeptical. Even if the ships survive, the radiation would kill the Luminary themselves. Admiral Donovan smiled. That's where you come in. Xerani shield technology is the best in the galaxy for radiation protection. If you share it with us, we can adapt it to protect the Luminary ships. Krull was silent for a long moment. Sharing Xerani military technology with outsiders was unheard of. Finally, he spoke. Very well. But I will supervise the installation myself. As the meeting ended, Allison looked out at the combined fleet, human, Luminary, and Xerani vessels side by side. It was an unlikely alliance, but their only hope of survival. The next day, the modified fleet set course for the Scylla Nebula. Ahead lay a dangerous journey through one of the most hazardous regions of space. For most species, it would be a suicide mission. But the humans, evolved on their harsh death world, were uniquely suited to lead the way. The combined fleet had been traveling through the Scylla Nebula for 3 days. Outside the ships, swirling clouds of purple and green gases blocked most sensor readings. Radiation levels were dangerously high, but the modified shields were holding. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Allison Murray watched the main screen with concern. Any sign of the Voidborn? Hard to tell. Ben Foster replied from the tactical station. The nebula is interfering with long-range scans. Captain Winters frowned. They'll be coming. The question is when. As if answering his question, alarm signals suddenly blared across the bridge. Multiple contacts. Ben shouted. Emerging from the gas clouds at coordinates 227 by 84. The main screen showed dark shapes moving through the nebula. They were unlike any ships Allison had seen before. Where most vessels had clear structures, the Voidborn ships seemed to shift and change, absorbing the light around them. They're targeting the Luminary vessels, Ben reported. All ships, defensive formation Delta, Captain Winters ordered. Protect the civilian transports. The human and Xerani warships moved to surround the vulnerable Luminary vessels. On the screen, Allison watched as the Voidborn fired their first weapons. Instead of lasers or missiles, they sent out dark beams that seemed to drain the energy from anything they touched. They're using energy-draining weapons, Olivia Carter said from the science station. Just like the Luminary described. A Xerani cruiser took a direct hit. Its lights flickered and then went out completely. The Xerani ship has lost all power, Ben reported. The Voidborn are hailing us, Ryan Phillips said with surprise. Captain Winters nodded. Let's hear what they have to say. The screen showed a dark figure that seemed to shift and move like smoke. When it spoke, its voice was deep and hollow. Surrender the energy weavers to us, and we will allow the rest of you to leave, it said. Resist, and we will drain every ship in your fleet. Not going to happen, Captain Winters replied firmly. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Options. Our backup power systems are still working, Allison said. The Voidborn seem to target main power sources. If we switch to secondary systems before they hit us, we might maintain enough function to fight back. Do it, the captain ordered. And tell all human ships to do the same. As the battle intensified, Lieutenant Kevin Washington led a squadron of fighters from the hangar bay of the Valiant. At 32, Kevin was one of the best pilots in the Earth fleet. His squadron consisted of 12 small, fast ships designed for close combat. Alpha Squadron, form up, he said into his communicator. We're going to try something the Voidborn won't expect. The 12 human fighters flew in tight formation toward the largest Voidborn ship. Instead of attacking head-on, they used a maneuver that Earth pilots called the Hornet's Nest. They split into 3 groups, each attacking from a different angle, then regrouped and scattered again before the enemy could target them. It's working, shouted pilot Grace Wilson as her shots landed on the Voidborn ship. Their tracking systems can't keep up with our movements. On board the main Luminary vessel, Wren watched the battle through a viewing port. The human fighters moved in ways he had never seen before, quick and unpredictable. Beside him, other luminary gathered. "We should help," Ren said. "The humans are risking their lives for us." "How?" asked another luminary. "We have no weapons." Ren thought about what Sergeant Coleman had taught them. "We have our abilities. We can disrupt the Voidborn targeting systems." 20 luminary joined hands in a circle. They focused their energy manipulation abilities outward, sending pulses of light toward the Voidborn ships. The light didn't damage the enemy vessels, but it confused their sensors. "The luminary are helping," Kevin reported as he noticed the enemy fire becoming less accurate. "Their light bursts are giving us an edge." The battle continued for hours. Several human ships were damaged, and one Serani vessel was completely disabled. But the defenders held their position, protecting the civilian transports at the center of their formation. Finally, the Voidborn ships began to retreat. They disappeared back into the dense gases of the nebula, leaving the combined fleet damaged but alive. "We did it," Allison said with relief. "For now," Captain Winters replied. "But they'll be back. And next time, they'll be ready for our tactics." The fleet moved deeper into the Scylla Nebula. The gases grew denser, and the radiation levels increased. On the medical deck of the Dauntless, Dr. Daniel Garcia worked tirelessly. He was treating humans, Serani and Luminary alike. The Luminary suffered most from the radiation, their light-based biology, particularly vulnerable to the nebula's effects. "How much longer until we're through this nebula?" Daniel asked Allison Murray when she came to check on the wounded. "Another day, maybe 2, she replied. "How are they holding up?" Daniel ran a hand through his short black hair. At 45, he had seen many emergencies, but nothing like this. "The humans are doing fine. Our bodies are naturally more resistant to radiation. The Exorani are tough too. But the Luminary..." He shook his head. "Their shields are failing. I've lost 3 already." Allison's face showed her concern. "We need to get them out of here faster." She returned to the bridge and shared the doctor's report with Captain Winters. "We need to increase speed," she urged. The captain nodded grimly. "Navigation reports there's a bottleneck ahead. A narrow passage between 2 radiation clouds. It's the only way through." The main screen showed the path forward, a small gap between swirling masses of deadly energy. "The problem is," Captain Winters continued, "our sensors are picking up something big waiting for us there." "The Voidborn?" Allison asked. "Most likely. They're learning our tactics." Admiral Donovan's face appeared on the communication screen. "All ships, we have a situation. Long-range scans show a Voidborn dreadnought blocking the passage ahead." The bridge fell silent. A dreadnought was the largest class of warship, nearly impossible to defeat without equal force. "We don't have the firepower to take it on directly," Allison said. From the back of the bridge, a voice spoke up. It was Captain Nicole Bennett of the heavy cruiser Thunderchild, who had come aboard for a strategy meeting. "Maybe we don't need to defeat it," she said. "Just distract it." Everyone turned to look at Nicole. She was a younger captain, only 38, but already known for her bold tactics. "What are you suggesting?" Admiral Donovan asked. "The Thunderchild is the fastest ship in the fleet. We can engage the dreadnought in close combat while the rest of you slip through the passage." Captain Winters frowned. "That's suicide." Nicole smiled slightly. "Not necessarily. The nebula limits their sensors too. We can use the gas clouds for cover, hit them from multiple angles, make them think they're facing more than one ship." "It's too risky," Allison protested. "It's our best option," Nicole replied. "The Luminary ships can't survive much longer in this radiation. They need to get through now." Admiral Donovan considered the plan. "Captain Bennett is right. The Thunderchild was designed for this kind of high-risk maneuver. If any ship can pull it off, it's hers." And so the plan was set. The Thunderchild would engage the dreadnought, while the rest of the fleet slipped through the narrow passage. As the Thunderchild prepared for battle, Dr. Daniel Garcia and his medical team were transferred to the Valiant. They would be needed there if the plan succeeded. "Good luck," Daniel said to the Thunderchild's crew before he left. The fleet approached the bottleneck. The Voidborn dreadnought came into view, a massive dark shape against the colorful gases of the nebula. It was 5 times the size of the largest human vessel. "Commence operation," Admiral Donovan ordered. The Thunderchild accelerated forward, its engines pushing beyond safe limits. Captain Nicole Bennett sat calmly in her command chair. "All hands, battle stations," she ordered. "Prepare for extreme maneuvers." The Thunderchild fired its weapons at the dreadnought, quick strikes before darting away into the gas clouds. The massive Voidborn ship turned to follow, just as planned. From the Dauntless, Allison watched with admiration as the Thunderchild executed maneuvers that would have torn apart most ships. The human vessel spun and twisted in ways that seemed impossible, pushing structural integrity to its limits. "The rest of the fleet is moving through the passage," Ben Foster reported. Allison's eyes remained fixed on the screen showing the Thunderchild's battle. "They're drawing all the fire," she said quietly. "I've never seen flying like that." The luminary ambassador Zivix stood next to her, his skin glowing with amazement. "Is this normal for humans?" he asked. "No," Allison replied. "But this is what we do when survival is at stake. We push beyond what's possible." This was what it meant to be from a death world. Not just physical strength, but an unbreakable will to survive against all odds. 3 weeks after their escape from the Scylla Nebula, the combined fleet arrived at Earth's orbital diplomatic station. The massive ring-shaped structure orbited Earth like a shining silver halo. From the observation deck, Allison Murray could see the blue planet below. "It's beautiful," said Zivix, standing beside her. His skin glowed with gentle blue patterns. "So much water. And so much gravity," Allison said with a smile. "You might find it uncomfortable down there." "But safe," Zivix replied. "After so long running, safety means everything." The fleet had made it through the nebula, though not without cost. 2 luminary ships had been lost, along with 1 Serani vessel. The Thunderchild had survived its battle with the dreadnought, but just barely. Captain Nicole Bennett and her crew were now being treated for radiation exposure and injuries. In the main conference chamber, representatives from all 3 species gathered around a large circular table. Admiral Susan Clark led the human delegation. She was tall and dignified with short gray hair and steady eyes that had seen many battles. "Today marks a historic moment," she began. "For the first time, humans, Serani, and Luminary stand together as allies rather than strangers." Krell, representing the Serani, nodded stiffly. The battle in the nebula had changed him. He had seen the humans fight with a ferocity that matched his own people's warrior spirit. "The Serani Empire acknowledges the strategic value of this alliance," he said formally. "The Voidborn are a threat to all life in this sector." Zivix spoke next. "The Luminary people pledge our knowledge and abilities to this alliance. Our energy manipulation technology will strengthen your defenses against the Voidborn." Admiral Clark smiled. "And humanity offers protection to the Luminary people. We have prepared settlement areas on our terraformed moon. There, your people can rebuild while staying under Earth's protection." The formal alliance was signed, the first of its kind between these 3 very different species. As the meeting ended, Allison found herself talking with Dr. Daniel Garcia. "How are the Luminary adapting to our gravity?" she asked. "Better than expected," he replied. "They're resilient in their own way. Different from human resilience, but impressive nonetheless." Allison nodded. "And the Thunderchild crew? Captain Bennett will make a full recovery. That woman has more lives than a cat," Daniel said with a shake of his head. "Most humans would have died from that level of radiation exposure." Later that day, Allison received news of her promotion to commander. She was to be given command of a new ship that would patrol the borders between human and Serani space, a peacekeeping role that would have been unthinkable just months ago. She stood on the observation deck again, watching as the first luminary transport descended toward the moon. Their new home would be in the controlled environment of the lunar colonies, where the lower gravity would be more comfortable for them. Ensign Ryan Phillips joined her. "It's amazing how things change," he said. "6 weeks ago, I had never even heard of the luminary. And the Exorani were just enemies to be feared," Allison added. "Do you think it will last, this alliance?" Allison considered the question. "I hope so. The Voidborn are still out there, and they won't give up easily. We're stronger together than apart." News of the alliance was spreading throughout the galaxy. Other species watched with surprise as the fierce Exorani warriors, the gentle luminary light weavers, and the adaptable human Deathworlders worked together. The message was clear. Humanity was not the monster of legend that many alien species feared. Yes, they came from a harsh world that made them physically tough. Yes, they fought with remarkable intensity when needed. But they also answered distress calls that others ignored. They risked their lives for strangers and offered homes to refugees. 1 month after the fleet's arrival, Allison visited the new luminary settlement on the moon. The aliens had created beautiful structures that glowed with soft light. Children played in the open areas, their skin flickering with happy patterns. Zivix greeted her warmly. "Commander Murray, welcome to our new home." "It looks wonderful," she said. "Are your people settling in well?" "Yes, and some have asked to join your Earth fleet. They wish to learn to defend themselves, as you taught us." Allison smiled. They would be welcome. As she prepared to return to her ship, Allison looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn were regrouping. The Alliance would face more challenges, but for now, 3 species that once viewed each other with fear or indifference have found common ground. A simple distress call had changed the galaxy forever.